A Tragedy by Edith Nesbit, 1858 to 1924. Among his books he sits all day, to think and read and write. He does not smell the new-mown hay, the roses red and white. I walk among them all alone, his silly, stupid wife. The world seems tasteless, dead and done, an empty thing is life. At night his window casts a square of light upon the lawn. I sometimes walk and watch it there until the chill of dawn. I have no brain to understand the books he loves to read. I only have a heart and hand he does not seem to need. He calls me child, lays on my hair thin fingers cold and mild. O God of love who answers prayer, I wish I were a child. And no one sees and no one knows, he least would know or see, that ere love gathers next year's rose, death will have gathered me. Okay, this is a poem by Edith Nesbit. She was born in South London. She's most famous for writing books for children. For example, I think The Railway Children is her most famous, but Five Children and It, the story of the treasure seekers. She was a founding member of the Fabian Society, which was a socialist organisation. Let's see, this poem is about a wife who is emotionally deserted by her husband. Her husband pays absolutely no attention to her, and I'm pretty sure that this is referring to her first husband, Hubert Bland. Let's see, she was married at, I think, the age of 20 or 21 to this Hubert Bland, and she was already 7 months pregnant when they got married. And soon after they were married, she discovered that there was another woman who thought that her husband was going to marry her, and she had had a child by her husband. And then she discovered that another friend of hers was also pregnant by her husband. Anyway, I have a feeling that this marriage was not a happy marriage. When he died, she married the captain of the Woolwich ferry. Anyway, so what's this poem about? This poem is about the role of Victorian women, the expectations of society, the gender roles at the time. This is saying that she's saying that her husband was always he ignored her, and she wanted for some connection, some appreciation with him, but he ignores life. He's always up in his study, reading, and she wants to be a child, to go back to her innocence, because at least like that, in her innocence, she would be able to bear this better. But this is the problem of being undervalued and overlooked as a woman in Victorian society, and this still happens today. And it was a tragedy, very clearly. Among his books he sits all day, to think and read and write. He does not smell the new-mown hay, the roses red and white. So she's talking about her husband, and he's always in his study, he's thinking and he's reading, and he doesn't smell nature, he doesn't come out, he doesn't smell the hay, he doesn't look at the beautiful red and white roses of nature, he's always in there. I walk among them all alone, his silly stupid wife. The world seems tasteless, dead and done, an empty thing is life. So she walks in nature, she walks among the roses, but this is her role. She's his silly, stupid wife. So clearly he's called her silly, he's called her a stupid wife. That in Victorian times, this was the role of women, that women were intellectually inferior, that women weren't worthy of an education. And she's so alone. The world seems to be without taste. The world is dead. The world is finished. Her life is empty because she, as his wife, she needs to look after him. At night his window casts a square of light upon the lawn. So clearly he's there all day and all night, and from his window the candlelight makes a square of light on the lawn. I sometimes walk and watch it there until the chill of dawn. And sometimes she goes to the garden and she watches this square of light. And she's outside watching the shadow, or the shadow of her husband studying all night. I have no brain to understand the books he loves to read. And here, this again is the Victorian values that society doesn't expect her to understand these books that he reads, that she is only there for domestic duties. I only have a heart and hand he does not seem to need. So I'm only somebody to love him, and a hand to do all of the domestic duties that he requires. He calls me child, lays on my hair thin fingers cold and mild. So he says child. And O God of love, who answers prayer, I wish I were a child. So if she was a child, then she could go back to innocence, and she wouldn't recognize that he's ignoring her. She would live in her own world, and at least as a child it would be a way to escape from this situation. But for her there is no escape, and no one sees and no one knows. He least would know or see, and nobody knows about this situation. Nobody's looks at it, nobody's interested. That ere love gathers next year's rose, death will have gathered me. And this is some sort of premonition that she is going to die, that she is dying, that this way of life is slowly but steadily killing her, and by next summer she will be dead. So, A Tragedy by Edith Nesbit.